morning, yo. It's your boy Devin Dad Doo. This video is about, truck driving. Basically, how I got into it and how it just saved my life, honestly. I don't want to make this too long, but starting off with, I got my Class B in 2020. So I never started with a Class A. I had my Class B and I was driving a school bus. This was back in New Jersey. Got my Class B through the school bus company. And yeah, 2020, this was during COVID. Did the training and stuff like 2019. I started like late fall or beginning of winter and ended up getting my license in January. So when I got my license in January, let's skip to March. March is when we had the whole shutdown thing. Had a lot of time off in a bad way. Everybody did. Let's skip forward to September and then doing a whole nother school year, with the mask thing and the regulations and the serious stuff going on. That year, 2021, I decided to really take things a little bit more serious because I can actually go a little bit further back. Like, I'm trying to not make this too long, but honestly, truck driving has truly saved my life. Going back, previous life, I guess I could say. I was doing a whole retail thing, jumping from job to job. And at that time, pay was obviously well under 15, minimum. It's probably around like 9 or something like that. It may have even been around like 7.25 still. I think most jobs I had was around like 9 to 10. And I'll never forget, I was working at a Macy's, right? And this gentleman came up to the register. When I was like ringing him up, he was just looking at me and just like, yo, you ever thought about getting into truck driving? I'm like, driving trucks? I'm just like, nah. Like, at the time, like, I was that type of dude where I'm more into retail, dressing nice, just dealing with customers. It was cool, but obviously the pay was stupid low. It's like, yeah, man, if you can get your CDL through this trucking school that was down in I think Vineland, New Jersey. I forget what the trucking school was, but like I said, I didn't go through them. Something about some money. It's like, yeah, I bring back like 1,400, and I was like, at that time, bringing back home 1,400, I'm just like, even now, bringing back 1,400 is pretty good. But at that time, I was just like, bro, that was the time where you can make like 60 grand. And honestly, it felt like you made 100 grand. You know what I'm talking about? It sort of stuck with me, but I was like, But let's go back a little bit more. When I was 18 years old and I was done high school, my mom, I'll never forget, he had this big ass thick booklet. It was a CDL knowledge test booklet. And she just gave it to me and was like, you can do this, out of high school. I'm just thinking to myself, like, bro, when I open a book and seeing all this mechanical shit, like, bro, I'm not even into mechanical stuff whatsoever. But I did out of high school. I'm trying to not jump everywhere, but y'all gotta understand how this saved my life. In high school, I did ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps, and I took that serious. I had long hair at the time, like my braids probably went down to here or something like that. Cut it the next day, went in, did drill team, exhibition, did Raiders. I was going to go into the United States Coast Guard, but when they said mandatory 4 years, I said, no. Because what if I get into it and it's not that, like, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be hard. I like a challenge, but what if I just don't want to do it? Like, I'm just like, I'm not really feeling this. You know what I'm saying? And then it's just like, yeah, no, you're here. Fast forward back to my mom giving me the CDL booklet. I always kept it. I kind of briefly looked through it, but I was just like, it gave me a headache just looking at a lot of the stuff that was in there. Jumping from job to job. I've been in a warehouse before. Barrett Outdoor Living, that's the one I remember, where I was doing like actual like handyman shit, like power tools, power saw, and all that stuff. And it just felt lifeless, honestly. It felt lifeless, and I only did that job for like 2 weeks on Republic Services, where I was actually one of the individuals separating recycled material from trash, like on a conveyor belt. Dude, that was probably one of my lowest moments in my life. I gotta honestly say, because at the end of the day, we had to sweep all that debris that was at the bottom of the conveyor belt that fell. And then you finally go home. I was like, dude, I thought nothing of all that shit that was falling off. I'm like, we got to clean this? I've done that, done retail. I've worked at the airport, and I really love the airport. The pay was a little bit dicey, but I did have my apartment, at the time. But once again, I wasn't saving money, using credit cards like crazy. It was just financially just fucking myself up. So long story short, 'cause I'm not going to name every single job I've been through, I just had enough. I had enough. And especially once COVID hit, that's when things like, I know a lot of people are tired of hearing about COVID and all that stuff, but you got to understand that time really changed a lot of people's lives. It really did. And it changed my life. It changed my mindset. And I was just like, I never forget when I was at the airport in the school bus job. I did both of those and I was making decent money and I lost them both. That's a whole nother story and a personal story I don't care to dabble into because at that time I was not with my current girlfriend. And yeah, but it was a very difficult time. So I finally I forget when I did this, but 2021, I think the whole year of 2021, I kept like after work, I would come home and I would study that CDL booklet, right? Read through the chapters I needed to read and get through it. And then I had went to Prime. So Prime is where it all started. If you don't know about Prime, listen, they're a well-known trucking company, mainly known about their refrigerated division. But they do refrigerated, tanker, flatbed, and now I guess they call it hopper or something like that, like grain hauling. So, and I kind of want to get back to them, but that's a whole nother story too. But yeah, I got with them, got with the trainers, because I did tanker there. I just needed to get a certain amount of miles in, and I got those miles in, got into tanker, and yeah, ever since then I had my Class A since 2021. But I've had a CDL in general for over 6 years now. So, but yeah, driving a Class A has only been like 5 years. Now, I will say, because I went through Prime, yes, I have an automatic restriction. But for those getting their CDL nowadays in the modern day, is it mandatory? Should you get it? Is there more opportunities in trucking if you get, remove the automatic restriction and you can drive manuals? No, no. In fact, they're starting to get rid of truck drivers and just make them, autonomous, whatever they call it, basically driving by itself. Now that's just for like long haul, like literally if it's just coast to coast, straight line, I-80 or some shit. Yeah, I can see why they're trying to get rid of drivers in that aspect because the truck can just simply keep going until it needs to fuel up or some shit. But because it doesn't require the driver to be off duty for 10 hours. Like, come on. But that's why I drive local. So if you wanted to get into some serious tanker hauling, like fuel hauling, like yes, most of those companies do require you to have experience with driving a manual for at least a year, honestly. And I will say for tanker, I feel like it's definitely good to be able to shift. Now, even though I have an automatic restriction, I do use like the paddle, and sometimes, but not every time, I put it in full manual because technically the transmission is a manual. I don't know if you know this, but it's just how the technology is. It's automatic. I don't know how to really dabble into that, but when I was doing tanker, I did use the paddle. I didn't feel comfortable just simply braking and throwing the stage 3 jakes on when I'm about to go down a hill. I would choose a gear, usually like 8th to 9th gear, because I was always on I-80, and put the jakes in like stage 1. Sometimes stage 2 if I'm coming down 78 is like a long excuse me, it's like a long grade that I remember going into Pennsylvania where I would do that all the time. Just choose like I think it was 8th gear and just ride the jakes all the way down, fully loaded. I was always fully loaded, leaving AAK, which was in Port Newark. But yeah, I missed that job, man. But over Prime, and I drove with Sigma, and then I briefly, something happened in my life, and I briefly went with Martin Transport, and I did phenomenal with that company. It's just I had a slip up, and rightfully so, they terminated me. But I was locked in at the time because I had to, but I was going through a lot of stuff mentally. Yeah, so that finally led me to this point where now I'm with US Foods. And US Foods was definitely not US Foods was nowhere near on the list of companies I want to work for. And I'm not saying that in a way where it's like I looked at the company and saw that it was bad or something. It was more so I just, you know, I'm really loyal. So once I was with Sigma, I'm just like, bro, this is it. This is it. I'm retiring from this company. Nope. God had other plans. God had other plans. And yeah, so it's just it took a lot to get to this point, honestly. I could probably do a part two, like a backstory, because when I say truck driving saved my life, I went from just jumping everywhere and doing a bunch of stuff to finally being stable to making almost, six figures. When I say almost, I mean like I can make six figures, but I choose to kind of like, okay, so this is the minimum that you can work, right? I choose to kind of be like here. Like I don't really care to do like this. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm single, I'm not married yet, and once I do taxes, yeah, I want to get taxed like crazy. Literally, one of the guys at our division, he has a girlfriend, but he recently got married not too long ago, and he made over six figures, right? Guess how much he owed the IRS for making well over six figures, filing single? $10,000. I have no idea why that amount. That could be well off. Maybe a tax accountant can be in the comment section and be like, yeah, so it's probably because of this reason or something like that. But that's what he told me. So, but once he got married, they actually owed him. So what I'm thinking is perhaps maybe he claimed her or something like that. Maybe he's making more or whatever the case is. Yeah, like I said, I never thought I'd get into like mechanical stuff because obviously you got to take that serious. You got to check everything. Everything on your truck that you've went through on the booklet, and even then some, because there's like new technology that you're going to have to look into that's incorporated into the truck. For example, the right weight scale, figuring out how to use that, and Prime uses that. Basically, how did this work? So the scale, I believe, on the tandem axle of the trailer, if it showed, I believe 34,000, because I believe it's 12,000 on the steers, 34 and 34, 68 plus the 12, that's 80,000 pounds. So you got to have 34, 34, and 12. And if it showed around 34, I believe you should be good because that's how you know it's balanced. In tanker, I think we had a right weight scale, but it was inside of the cab. I believe, yeah. I don't remember, man. I don't remember. But I do know there was a scale inside the cab, and you can actually see, because when you do like refrigerated or dry van on the tanker side, the refrigerated side, the scale doesn't move. The scale is at where it's at because the product is sitting still. Tanker, that shit actually moves because of the surge and everything. And it was pretty cool because you can see where the liquid was moving. So when you see that the scale is kind of lower, that means the liquid is towards the rear. But once you see the scale going up, that means a lot of the liquid is actually at the front. So I have a video on TikTok where I'm showing what's happening, and it's technically like driving a boat. So I know some of you would probably want to know, like, what's the process of getting your Class A. Like I said, I got it through Prime. I didn't go to a trucking school because that shit's costly. That's another thing. You also have to be with a company that's reputable. Because some of these companies, I don't know if you know, but of lately, there's been a lot of these companies just scamming drivers and actually not really giving out the good information and just giving out licenses or something like that. A lot of scam going on, and it was a lengthy process, I'm not gonna lie, because you talk to a recruiter, and it's a process where you pack your bags, they fly you out, or you take like a Greyhound. I took a Greyhound because their terminal was in Pittston. Their terminal is in Pittston, Pennsylvania. I just lived in New Jersey, so I went out there, did class stuff, completely new to all the Class A stuff, of course. And that's another thing. I also didn't have my air brake endorsements when I had the school bus endorsement, and I had a school bus endorsement, passenger endorsement, and obviously the Class B license, but had nothing air brake related. So that was a little bit new. And even though I knew about it, you go out in the yard day by day, just doing back end maneuvering, and just I'll never forget, man. I'll never forget. It's gonna sound crazy, but going from a vehicle that maybe has, I'd say around 300 to 400 pound-feet of torque, right? To a vehicle that weighs just simply the cab, 20,000 pounds, right? And that's like the sleeper, just the cab. And that vehicle having 400 horsepower with over, I think, 11 or 1,200 pound-feet of torque. Man, it felt nerve-wracking to just simply tap the throttle. I went from I went from, what I'm saying, driving with both hands, like literally white knuckling the steering wheel, barely, you're like, I'm super scared to even touch the throttle. And now I just drive with one hand, what time is it? Looking out the window, scenery and everything, and I just be going like almost 80,000, 80,000, 80 miles per hour down a mountain and stuff, doing liquid tanker. Man, it's just like times have changed, bro. Like you'll honestly start to adapt to that stuff. But I can't believe I went from that to, like I said, just flying down mountains. Now, I didn't do it in an unsafe way. I did it where I knew the grade was safe to do it and there was no cars in front of me. I didn't see like brake lights up ahead. I would never do that. And yes, you shouldn't even do that even if the road is completely clear, because you could hit a deer and it can, come out of your tire and something happened. But I used the Jakes and I stayed in a certain gear. But yeah, man, in the yard doing a bunch of maneuvers, you end up going with a instructor. Like, I'll never forget when, for the first time, I'm taken out to take a load or pick up a load in Virginia and come back up to Pennsylvania. So it was like a long drive. I'm not used to driving that long. I think it was like 5 or 6 hours. And I was like, man, this is the life right now, driving this big ass truck. But your body starts to adapt to it. You start to gain, endurance, sitting long periods of time and driving. You start to get more aware of how people drive and habits and stuff. You start to prevent it in the future. In Virginia, it was a Walmart load. Not from a Walmart DC. It was actually from a Walmart. Slept in a bunk and then head back up. And actually my trainer drove us to, was it? I don't even know. One of us drove to and one of us drove from. Yeah, I was in a hotel for quite a bit, kind of switching. And then, I took the actual test where you go on a road, you go on the actual interstate. And it was just so nerve-wracking because you're trying to do everything like perfectly. So yeah, I ended up passing the test with flying colors. And I was super excited. I told my mother, everything that happened, because it's funny. I actually cried when I got my Class B, because I was like, man, my life has finally changed. Like I went from making like $10 an hour to like $16.50 as a school bus driver. The following year or something like that, when I got back into it, it went up to like 18. And then I took a break from it and got back into it, and it was like 25 an hour. But where the hell was I? Yeah. So I cried when I got my Class B. Things were looking bright. But when I got my Class A, I didn't cry. I sat there, like the instructor was just like, you pass. And, he got out the truck and I just sat there and I was like, I'm going to be driving semi-trucks for a living. I told my mom. She was super happy, super proud of me. And, now I'm the man of the house. I'm making quite a bit of money. Obviously home time was, quite less, like very less compared to, now. But I did regional. So actually I got home like once a week, to be honest, like once to once to 2 times per week. It depends. Yeah, man. Truck driving has saved my life. So I went from all those, shitty jobs, bouncing around. I've had a lot of jobs, filling out, going on Indeed and just filling out a ton of applications, just waiting. And then, bro, believe it or not, I've had jobs where I've applied years ago, right? And just last year, they responded. I bullshit you not. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, bro, I could have been homeless or dead by now, God forbid, and you're calling just now that you have a position open. Like what the hell? I'm just like when they called up, I'm like, who's this? It's like, yeah, this is some sort of just like, yeah, so we see that you applied online for a position. I'm like, I'm making 6 figures now. It's like, yeah, guys. That's pretty much what my short story was. I definitely didn't want to make this video too long, but yeah, I got the Ray-Bans, by the way, and the Ray-Ban Metas. Probably wondering why I got these glasses on. Well, one is to look a little bit professional, and two, these are actually prescribed glasses, like for my my medical exam. So my right eye actually has it's a little bit of a slight bit of distortion, like a slight bit, and like, yeah, I can see, but it's probably like 1% blur, like a 1% blur in my right eye. And this lens, obviously, it does the trick to where it makes it super clear. So not that I need these while driving. I've never had issues while driving during the day or at night, because I know people have like astigmatism where like the lights, they shine super bright or something like that. I kind of have that. Yeah, bro, these Metas, super good. Yes, they're expensive, but I'm gonna show you real quick what they look like. So that's the actual camera, like right there on that side. And I'm not sure what that other side is, but yeah, there's like a button up top here where you can press to take pictures and record. And the touchpad is on the right side. This side here, you wouldn't even know. And there's a button or like a switch on the inside to turn it on right there. And you can listen to music, make phone calls, super clear. The only downside to these Ray-Ban Metas is I thought I could use them to like use as a microphone. Like, I'm not trying to cheap out. Like, I know this microphone, I gotta upgrade it. I gotta get a DJI, but I was like, let me just get a quick microphone, not spend too much money, make some content with it, and then I'll obviously upgrade, because I'm not getting paid for this shit, bro. The fuck I look like buying a drone and all this other expensive shit, and I'm not making that much money. But if you guys subscribe, not that I like saying this often, once I hit like 1,000 subscribers, apparently I can start earning, and that means I will definitely invest in equipment and doing better edits and just making the overall quality much better, because my previous videos, they were shot in like my Samsung Galaxy S21, believe it or not. So pretty bad, pretty old, but I did what I could with that damn phone, bro. And now I'm on the iPhone 16, not 16 Pro, just a 16. Yeah, thank you for watching once again. Like, comment, and subscribe, and more to come.